We are finite beings, but we yearn for the infinite. We are limited by time and space, but we crave for more. And because we are not Michelle Yeoh and we cannot be everything everywhere all at once, we have to make choices. And when our choices are selfish or superficial and shortcuts or hurt other people, then we call this sin. And whether it's our own personal sin or the collective sin of all humanity, this sin blocks us from God. It creates a chasm between us as finite, sinful, imperfect humans and a holy, perfect, infinite God. And that's a tragedy. That's a problem we have with sin, because God is the very one who can fill the void, who can meet our need for something more beyond our mortal selves. God is the infinite one who can fill every hope and dream we could ever have and haven't even begun to hope or dream yet. But our sin blocks us from God. That is the sin problem. And so different cultures, different religions, different times have sought ways to overcome the problem of sin, tried to find a way to bridge the chasm between us and God. The people of Israel, of whom Jesus was one, had a system of sacrifices, of sacrificing animals or different foodstuffs as a way of atoning for sin. But it was never enough. Nothing could ever be enough to atone for the sin of all humanity. But God had a plan. God wanted us back. God desired a relationship with us above all else in all of his creation. And so God entered into humanity in the person of Jesus. And that's the good news story of Christmas. But God entered into humanity, and Jesus' plan was to reveal the Father to all humanity and proclaim the kingdom of God. But people rejected Jesus, rejected his message. And that's, again, the effects of sin. The people shied away from Jesus' message of love and forgiveness and inclusion. People sought to grasp for power. People wanted to keep the status quo and not change. People's hearts were not open to conversion. And so sin roused up against Jesus and led ultimately to his death. But Jesus' death on the cross was not something he just accepted passively, nor was he a fool who was caught out. Rather, Jesus accepted his death and then leant into it, and he decided he would offer himself, his very life, as the sacrifice for our sin. Jesus, having one foot in humanity and 1 foot in divinity, was able to be the one person in all of history who could do this, whose life would be enough to atone for all human sin. And so Jesus, killed by human sinfulness, but as the Son of God, desired to offer his life as the sacrifice for us, bridge the gap between us and God. Now, we wouldn't know this except for Holy Thursday, where Jesus revealed his plan. And we wouldn't know this except for Easter Sunday, when Jesus rose from the dead, which was God showing that he accepted Jesus' sacrifice. This was God vindicating Jesus by bringing him back to life, raising him from death. The death could not hold him down. The sin of the world could not conquer or defeat Jesus. No, he defeated. He conquered sin. He conquered the sin of the world, and he conquered death. So what do we do then in response to this? Well, we accept gratefully what Jesus has done for us, and we come to him with gratitude, saying, Lord, thank you that you have done for me what I could not do for myself. You have bridged the way for me to come back to God, to the infinite God for whom I crave, for whom I long. Indeed, you, Jesus, are that God as well. And so we come with gratitude to thank Jesus. And we do this perhaps in 3 ways. One is in prayer. It is that heartfelt conversation with him where we say exactly that. Jesus, I love you, I thank you, I worship you. Then we do it together every Sunday in Eucharist, which, as we talked about last night, Holy Thursday, is the way in which we can participate in Jesus' death and resurrection. And finally, we try to conform our lives to Jesus by living better, by living his way, and living by the values of the kingdom of God which Jesus came to reveal, which a sinful world had rejected, but we who choose Jesus try to live by. And number 3 is no substitute for number 1 and 2. The good actions and the good living make sense only if we are praying and are worshipping as a coherent and consistent way of following Jesus. And today, this Good Friday, we have a particular unique way of thanking him, where we come up to the cross, we venerate the cross by coming forward to touch it, to make that tangible connection, to say, Jesus, I thank you, I love you, I worship you, and I gratefully receive the gift of salvation and forgiveness of sin which you offer me.